戦するからよく見ろ証明してあげるよ何度も失敗して気が落ちるけど次やる時はきっとうまくいくだろう繰り返しても諦めるのは早いぞ
And welcome to the greatest anime podcast of all time, the Anime Egotists. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, listen to us on your favorite platforms, anything. My name's Alex, and I don't think I'd have a whole lot of friends in the anime world because I'm kind of antisocial.
Yeah, and that probably, as I said, goes double for me earlier.
Yeah? And you are...
Oh, and I'm Richard.
That's great. Hi. Like, we wouldn't have a whole lot of friends. Male, women, male, female. Actually, I'd say both, but neither of them are asking to be our friends. But, like I said, we like to talk about anime. The best of anime. A lot of great anime episodes, characters, movies, etc., etc. Particularly, as I said before, the episodes.
Yeah, they can be hit or miss. Some are amazing. Some can be just okay. And again, then you get to the terrible, the ones that ruin an arc, have some sort of issue that ruins something about it. There's all sorts of issues that we can go over, and we probably will go over a whole bunch of different things.
Yeah. So, the worst episodes in anime. Now, these could be one-parters, two-parters. In one case, mine's a three-parter, but it might as well just be a two-parter. But anyways, we like to give some love to our subscribers. So I'm going to say our first subscriber, J-Dog. Thank you for subscribing. And somebody who's actually recommending new videos and new topics for us to talk about, which we are always open to people doing. We're not going to necessarily do them right away, but we promise we're keeping tabs on them.
Yeah, we're working around our schedules as best we can to get new content out. And any suggestions you have is much appreciated. We like new ideas.
But thank you, J-Dog. Our next subscriber, Yano. I really, really hope this is the New Japan wrestler so we can be on his DVD, but I'm not quite sure that's who that is. But regardless, thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
And lastly, one of our newest subscribers, Raid Pirate. Raid Pirate, a good friend of mine on Twitter, friend of the show. And they did a video about what Brendan would be like in the Pokemon anime. Like, you don't think that'd be a good idea for a video or something, right?
Yeah, I think it's that corner, or is it that corner?
Yeah, oh man, I got the blank down the first time. But yes, check out their video on it, check out our video on it, but as always, thank you. Maybe all three of us can work together sometime on it.
Yep, and again, thank you all for subscribing. We really appreciate all the support.
Yeah, you guys could have picked anywhere else to subscribe. Not that you have to be exclusive about it, but you subscribe to us, and we always appreciate the love. Thank you.
Yep.
Sadly, we're going to get into some sad stuff now. Can I please go first? Because
go ahead.
Okay, now you guys know with our list, we don't generally do a 5-to-1 thing. It's not necessarily in any order. We just kind of do it as we do it. We don't really rank it. But I want to start off with my first one. Like, to me, the number one worst episode on my list.
Oh, wow, you started with that one. Okay.
Yeah, because I would just want to get this out of the way. School Days, Episode 9, After Evening Festival.
Okay, I'm just going to take my earbuds out for this. Go right ahead.
Okay, so here's the thing. I've talked before that I don't like School Days, that I hate it, that I think it's garbage. But this episode just really makes me sick. So we know the story. Makoto starts off as some idiot who doesn't know how to talk to girls, and suddenly he's cheating on his girlfriend, Kotonoha, with a bunch of other girls. And during the school festival, he pretty much abandons her to sleep around with other girls while she's getting bullied by the rest of her classmates. Because bullying the nice girl, where's the fun in that? Where's the fun in that? And a lot of people, when they talk about specific School Days episodes, they talk about the finale, which I'm sure we'll talk about someday. Hey, but this episode, You know the trope of in harem or romance anime, Richard, where the main character is this bland, boring, dense protagonist, and his best friend is this perverted idiot?
Yes, that is quite common.
Yeah, well, this episode more or less features the perverted best friend, Taisuke, and he's talking to Kotonohan saying, "You're not really dating Makoto." And she's like, "Yes, I am. He's just not here right now." And let's just say Taisuke takes his perversions a little too far. Like, it's I just want to rip the band-aid off of this one. It's heavily implied in the episode that he rapes her. That's disgusting. First of all, I don't know. We haven't talked about this as a PSA, but I'm just going to come out and say it. The Anime Egotists are against rape. Like, seriously,
We had to say that.
yeah, I know, but you have to be clear about it sometimes.
Yes.
And we're completely against it, absolutely. But the worst part, that is the worst part. But the little salt in the wound they add to it is, it's not that he necessarily, it's not that he's a bad person is why he did. It's that he doesn't understand the concept of no. As in, they portray him as too stupid to realize this person's uncomfortable. Maybe I should stop. Like that to me, it's disgusting to me. And I'd still have a problem with it, but the worst part is there's no comeuppance. Out of all the characters who got their comeuppance in school days, he's not one of them. He just moves on. He just moves on with his life, and it's a disgusting, despicable episode in my opinion. I can't stand it.
Based on your description, again, I've never managed to get through more than a few episodes. I think I've gotten through 2 or 3 at this point, but I can't watch it. It's not good. Even those early episodes, it's so bland at the beginning. There's nothing going on, and I don't know, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just such a despicable. And I said before, if he got his comeuppance, I'd still hate it, but he didn't. And just, you can't play a character as that stupid without. Forget it. Like I said, this is the worst episode on my list, so I'm just good. Let's just move on. Let's move on to hopefully episodes that are more bad in a comedic sense. Let's move on. Your turn.
Well, I have one that's kind of similar.
Oh,
so I just want to get it. I want to get it out of the way as well. It's Sword Art Online, Gilded Hero, which is episode 24 of the first season. So in this episode, in my opinion, just to start, SAO could have been a really good 12, 13 episode anime, and if it had ended there, it would have been fine. But they have a second half of the first season, and then again, a terrible second season. So this kind of is the episode that kind of starts in my opinion, downhill of this anime. The main female protagonist, Asuna, has been pretty much the entire series or entire season has been captured by her fiance from the real world, I think is what it's her father's assistant who's marrying to become the new head of the family.
Is he the guy with the creepy tongue?
Yes.
Okay, good. Oh, points for me.
But yeah, so pretty much Kirito, the main hero, has worked his way up to almost rescue her from the virtual world, and the bad guy pretty much rapes her. And I don't think he ever gets that far, but he molests her pretty bad. And then he says, when he's pretty much losing to Kirito, that he's going to go do it in the real world instead. So he jacks out, and that leads to the end of this first season. But still, it's very bad. You don't have to make the bad guys. I don't want to say perverted. I don't know what the right term would be. Creepy, bad, evil.
Does he at least get some form of comeuppance, like to speak to people?
In the real world, he's stabbed by Kirito later on.
I'll allow it
before he actually gets a chance to do it in the real world. But still, the fact that he does this and then says, "Fine, I can't do it here. I'll go to do it to her while she's in a coma in the hospital."
Because that's
yeah. So
God, what? Oh my God, that's I'm angry just listening to that.
Yeah, so you see why I put this on my list. It's kind of, they could have made him a bad guy. He plans to pull the plug on her, end her life, so he can be in charge of the family and the business. And if they had just done that, it's like there's still the threat of her losing her life. But you don't have the fact that she's going to be raped in real life. It's like that still has consequences. So, in my opinion, this episode just had potential, had a way of leading into a good ending for the first season, and then they did this, and it's just not good.
Yeah, I can co-sign on to that. Okay, now the really hard episodes to talk about are out of the way. Hopefully now we'll have some episodes that, in my case, are at least more fun to talk about, or in your case, because I know sometimes this on your list, they're episodes that you hate, but I have a little bit of charm for. Or like when we talked about Jade and Yuki versus Game Show Bob Banter, that sort of thing.
Yep.
Okay, so let's move on.
Yep.
And so the next episode on my list, this doesn't necessarily have a specific episode to encompass all of it, but I'll just say Season 2, Episode 19 of The Disastrous Life of Psyche K. Season 2, Episode 19. Yeah, the school play episode. This is Now, don't get me wrong, there are a couple of funny jokes in this, like Hyro being the turtle, and oddly enough, an extremely motivated, fast turtle in this episode. There are a couple of funny jokes, but to me, the characters just infuriate me. Like, the episode before this, the rich character Psycho, he's stuck up, vain, very proud of his money, and mean to everybody. But there were a couple of episodes in season 2 where it showed like he actually did enjoy spending time with everybody. All of a sudden in that episode, he decides, I don't want to be part of the school anymore because I don't have, deep down, he's thinking I don't have any friends. But Nendo, of all people, is the one saying, no, we're all friends with you and everything. And everything kind of works out. But this episode kind of completely backtracks because he's like, oh, don't worry, guys. For the school play, I'll provide the money. I'll provide the funding and everything. And I'm thinking, oh, that's really cool. That's a sign of character development. It's like, no. But on one condition being, I have to be the hero, and Teruhashi, the most popular girl in school, she has to be my wife or girlfriend or whatever in the school play. Not in real life, but just her character has to be that in the play. And we're all kind of like, yeah, but Kobayasu makes like a really good protagonist. Like, no, I'm not doing that. And he pulls the funding on the episode. Not the episode. Well, that would kind of make sense. No, he pulls his funding on the play, and I'm like, why? You basically developed this character or to pretty much the most you could have been developed one episode, and then the very next episode he's back to being a petty jerk. I don't know. It really doesn't make him look good. The episode's kind of a slog for the most part. Even in some of Discord groups I've been in, people agree, yeah, this isn't a very good episode.
It sounds like your generic, like Nickelodeon. Oh, it's the play episode. So who's going to be the main character? And oh, it's this rich snotty guy. Oh, but he's not as good, but he's doing something, or he's a favorite of the teacher. So yeah, it sounds very generic.
Yeah, and like I said, if later on he had done this, I'd been like, whatever. He can't be perfect he can't be better forever. But the very next episode was like, wow, really? You just thought we were going to forget everything that happened? I know it's a gag anime, but you could do better, especially since in the very last episode of the series, spoiler alert, when a meteor is coming to Earth, all his not his henchmen, like his butlers and stuff are saying, and Mr. Psycho, we need to get you to the shelter so you'll be safe. And the last thing he says before the series ends is, wait, but what about the rest of my friends? And I'm like, you can't just backtrack like that. It doesn't look good. There are a couple of funny jokes, but overall, it's just a boring, messy. It's not a good episode.
Yeah, I can go sign on to that one, I guess.
Yeah. Anyways, your next one?
All right. So this one is a fairy tale episode. It's the Zombie Ichiya episode.
I've never heard of this. Go for it.
So there's a character called Ichiya. He's always depicted as very short, but he has like the exaggerated, what are considered like the best male features: a strong chin, muscular, but he's always short, and his powers involve he uses smell magic, and and different aromas can make him super strong, give him different like fire breathing, different things. Well, if I remember correctly, because I haven't watched this episode, I skip it when I've rewatched Fairy Tale. He is experimenting, trying to develop a new one, and creates a magic spell that, when inhaled by, when he smells someone else, they turn into a zombified version of him. It's really a weird episode, but he's one of my least favorite characters. He has his catchphrase is literally like that's how he says it. So all the zombies, that's all they say. They get his face attached to their bodies, and it's literally a zombie episode in the middle of this season. It's a one-off episode. It's just not good. It's one of my least favorite characters. It's played for laughs, but it's in the end they figure out how to cure it. But I think they even do like a teaser that it may not be over, with like someone in the sewer or something still having his face. So it's just, and then nothing later on comes from it. It's a stupid one-off episode. I think it also comes in the middle of one of the arcs. I can't remember for sure. It's just not well placed, in my opinion.
It sounds like, based on all I've heard, it sounds like a worse episode of that Phineas and Ferb episode where the Doofenshmirtz zombies were taking over.
Yeah, that is a good comparison.
Yeah. By the way, you said he had a good chin muscle or whatever it was?
He's got like a very square, it's like that.
Okay, so, but it's not as good as Joey Wheeler's chin.
No, it's just, as I said, his face is specifically designed to be the exaggerated, perfect male face, to the point where it's not good looking.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I have to co-sign because I haven't seen it.
All right.
Oh, okay. So the next one I have is Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, The Hands of Justice and Future Changes. First of all, kind of a meta thing. I'm not really sure why the first two episodes, The Hands of Justice and Hands of Justice, is part 1 and part 2, but then Future Changes is like the last episode of the season. Why not just call it part 1, 2, and 3? But whatever. That's such a small thing. But this is the last few episodes of season 2. Aster and Jaden are trying to defeat the light inside of Sartorius. And there's also the Gen X tournament at Duel Academy going on. Part of the problem for me is this, because we talked about in our best Yu-Gi-Oh! Duels, we talked about Jaden versus Zane and how they got like 2 full episodes to duel and have their own story and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But that was after they dealt with the Sacred Beast and the Shadow Riders and everything. Hey, my problem with these episodes is they combine the Gen X tournament and the battle with Sartorius. So we're basically getting 2 duels in like a 3-part segment, which to me should be you'd think would be cool, but it kind of it takes focus away. Like, we all know in theory the Gen X tournament isn't all that important. It's not the fate of the world. In my opinion, these episodes could have been so much better if you let Jaden and Sartorius do their thing and have Jaden save the world, and then have the Gen X tournament be its own thing. And kind of the end of season 2, because spoiler, the Chaz ends up winning the Gen X tournament. So in my opinion, it would have been really cool to have the series have part of the season end with Jaden saving the day, but then like the last few episodes, it shows Chaz winning the Gen X tournament and having him look really good throughout it.
Yeah, I think that makes a good bit of sense, because I'm thinking for those of us who have mostly seen the original series, I'm thinking of like, imagine trying to watch like the Arcana fight for Yugi while Joey's battling Weevil or Esperoza at the same time, and you're having to follow 2 different duels, and it cuts back and forth. That just doesn't seem like it would work.
Yeah, not to mention, want to know who Chaz was dueling in the finals of the Gen X tournament?
I don't remember. I
It
think I've
was
seen this.
it was Blair. She had come back and she was basically, because the rule of the tournament was whoever won the tournament got like one thing within reason, and her thing was I want to join Duel Academy, despite the fact that she's a little too young, but she's smart enough, so it's fine. But and the thing is, she uses this thing called a mystic deck. Like it has like she'll have eggs on the field, which to me was weird. But then when those eggs hatch, they become these like powerful dragons, and it was hinted that she was dominating the duel for a good portion. How cool would have been to seen those cards all like throughout one, maybe two episodes, rather than just cutting back and forth every now and then. It's just a messy season 2 finale.
Yeah, it sounds like it because people forget how strategic some of these duels could have been. I know that they don't follow the rules, but still, they the way cards are played, it can be hard to follow if you cut away for a while and then come back in the middle of something. It sometimes it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, the only good thing about this is Hasselberry and his dual spirit, like him as a dinosaur or something like that, he helps save the day. So it shows, yeah, people other than Jaden can help save the world. Now, if only they followed that philosophy for the next few seasons and the whole show. But yeah, it's not a very good episode. It's not a very good season finale.
I can co-sign on to that. It sounds like it was messy.
Yeah. Anyways, your next one?
All right. So I'm going to try to pronounce this. It's the Bikochu Retrieval Arc, or the Insect Retrieval Arc from the end of Naruto.
Oh, the Bikochu beetle?
Yes, specifically
Okay, sure.
episode 151.
Okay, you're gonna have to remind me of this one because I just started rewatching this arc.
Okay, so this is the final episode of the arc.
Oh, damn it.
I could have talked about I think this or the arc after this is the Mitsuki arc, and we've already been over that one a few times, so I'm not going to mention more about it. So this one, Naruto, and I think it's Team 6.
Team 8.
Team 8 are going after this beetle that's supposed to be able to track scents. They've had a battle with another group of ninja throughout it. This episode has them win. I think it's specifically Hinata wins the day. She does. This is a really good Hinata episode, at least at the start.
Yeah, it's a really good. And the worst part is, it's actually a pretty solid Team 8 arc. If anything, it makes Naruto look kind of dumb because the whole time he's trying to take over and do this stuff, and Shino's like, Naruto, I'm the leader. I'm the bug expert. And Naruto's like, but, and honestly, if I was Shino, I would have said, okay, tell you what. Anybody who won their preliminary tuning exam match gets to be in charge. He's like, but I won. I'm like, okay. Anybody who looked good during their fight. And he's like, damn it, you win. He's like, I always do. Anyways, continue.
But yeah, so he, it's mainly the ending of this episode.
Yep.
Almost anything could have happened. They could have had the beetle smell a flower, and that's what it's attracted to. It could have been one of the other ninja left something and it smells that. Naruto farts. This is the third or fourth time in the entire series already that Naruto farts and it either messes something up or wins in a battle.
Yeah, and it's like the second or third time it's happened involving Kiba.
Yeah. So it ruins the fact that they can't find it. So it would have been much better had there been some sort of mitigating circumstance, not him farting. Someone interferes, and that's why they can't use the beetle to track Sasuke. So
yeah,
it's just the ending really ruins what could be a really interesting arc for me.
Not only that, but in the beginning of the arc, Tsunade said, "Fine, you can go with Team 8, but on one condition: if you fail in this mission, which technically they did, if you fail this mission, you have to give up on Sasuke." He's like, "Yeah, I promise." And as we all know, that's not what happened. That's not what happened in the slightest. I agree. It's a fairly serviceable arc, but that ending, even as a kid, I was like, "This is stupid."
Well, what's worse is I think, because I watched most of the original series of Naruto on CartoonNetwork.com when they had all the episodes up.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched and they did trailers for episodes that weren't released yet, and this one hadn't been released yet, and this one was advertised, and I think that even in the trailer for the episode showed Naruto farting, and then I caught up and I'm like, okay, I know what happens already. He like, why is this the trailer and all that? So it's just there's a lot not going right for this episode.
I completely agree. I co-sign. So my next one,
Go right ahead.
what am I on right now? Oh, okay. So you guys know we're Pokemon fans, so I'm just gonna get this one out of the way. Paths to the Pokemon League, aka the Pokemon Indigo episode 8. Yeah, one of the worst episodes of Pokemon is not even 10 episodes in yet.
Okay.
I've talked before about this on our worst Pokemon battles list, so but I'm going to go into a little more detail because I've since re-looked at the episode. Ash battles this guy named AJ with the Sandshrew. AJ's the guy with the Sandshrew, and he has the whip. And AJ beats Ash. And not only that, but AJ has the trade of he's like, oh, I'm not going to challenge any gym battles. I'm not going to have any gym battles until I get 100 wins in a row. Which I'm like, if every game Pokemon character in the games had that philosophy, you would be unstoppable with how much you'd level up. But whatever. So Ash gets mad because he's like, I should have won. I'm like, dude, your Pokemon aren't that strong at this point. You have Pidgeotto, Butterfree, and Pikachu. That's about it. So they follow AJ back to his home or his gym, because I remember it's an unofficial gym actually, and they see that he's putting his Pokemon through like this rigorous training, like literally jumping through hoops and all these dangerous obstacle courses and stuff like that. And Brock and Misty and Ash in particular are really stuck up about this, because Brock and Misty's philosophy is, hey, you shouldn't be putting your Pokemon through this type of stuff, which to me kind of makes sense because it's very harsh training. And I understand that. But Ash does it purely out of spite, but purely out of, I lost, so your Pokemon shouldn't be going through all this. And I don't know. On the one hand, I don't like that AJ's going through all putting his Pokemon through this harsh, rigorous training, but at the same time, why don't you ask them? Why don't you be like, hey, how do you guys feel about this? Are you enjoying this? Do you actually need help? Do you need thing? Because it's heavily implied throughout the episode that his Pokemon are more or less okay with this. It's like, we want to get stronger, we want to be better, and all that other sorts of stuff. But like I said, Ash does it seemingly out of spite, because when Sandshrew runs off and gets kidnapped by Team Rocket, Ash is like, oh, your Sandshrew ran away from you. Oh, that's hey, how about the rest of you guys come join my team? And I'm like, it's a frustrating episode because they're on the necessarily the right side of things, but they're doing it for the wrong reason, and it just looks terrible. I was slowly going over to AJ's side at that point.
Yeah, I've only seen this episode a few times, but I do remember most of it. Yeah, it's not a great episode because I think this follow Cerulean and all that.
I want to say yes, it does.
So yeah, it's just it's not a good episode. And again, this is kind of during a weird way of trying to figure out how to give Ash gym badges without actually having him win.
Yeah, because he hadn't won a single gym badge. He hadn't won a single gym badge on this. You understand what I mean by that at this point.
Yeah, so it's just, and again, even Pokemon's made fun of this in what is it, Sun and Moon.
Yeah, that was one of the few funny jokes in Sun and Moon, when it's just like, oh yeah, I've got all 8 badges from Kanto. It's like, oh yeah, in my case, I just handed mine over to you out of pity. And Brock's like, yeah, that does sound familiar. And Kiawe just looks at Ash with disgust, like, what are they talking about? I'm surprised Kiawe didn't call out Ash more on his BS at some points.
But yeah, I can agree to this. It's not good character. Again, it is early on, so it has a little bit of forgiveness just because they're still trying to figure out where they were going to go with their characters. But based on how they've already started, it was kind of a left turn, and then later on they straightened back out, in my opinion, in the next few episodes.
Yeah, and then the next series, and then it got weird over the next few ones. But yeah, that's one of my Pokemon ones. I have one other one, but it's an honorable mention, and we can talk about that later.
All right. So my next one. Let's see. So we probably briefly mentioned this. It's Naruto Shippuden episode 458. I skipped over some really bad episodes that are the middle of the war filler arc of the dreams of everybody.
Okay.
This list could have been filled with those because those are just half of them are really bad.
I do. There is a couple of dreams I like, but we can talk about that another point. Anyways,
The issue is where they're placed.
yeah,
It
that I
ruins the
agree
flow of
with.
the arc.
That I agree with.
But this is Madara's death in the resurrection of God, what's her name? I forgot her name now. But
Kaguya.
Kaguya, yes, thank you. Just this episode is Madara has been built up to be the big bad of the series for 400 plus episodes now. He's been mentioned as Dark. Oh, that's who's behind the mask. Oh, he's been resurrected. He's had that amazing fight with my guy. There's all this stuff that's building up, and you think, okay, this is awesome. They're gonna fight Madara. How is Naruto gonna talk him into becoming a good guy or something?
You're not even wrong.
And then we get Kaguya after Black Zetsu stabs him in the back. And this really just messed up the pacing for me on this.
I can 1000% agree. Not only that, but Black Zetsu just casually walked up and just stuck his hand through. I'm like, really? Like, not some exploding jutsu or something like that? Just casually, like... You know, I've tried grabbing people's shoulders for saying, like, hey, you might, like, what, is that going to happen accidentally? Am I going to accidentally stab somebody with my hands? Because, I don't know, it was, not only was it just bad, it was just kind of a lackluster death. Like, really? That's how you kill him? Meanwhile, Might Guy was wilding out in 8 gates mode, and he couldn't even kill him?
See, imagine, okay, if you want Kaguya to be the big bad in the very end, have Might Guy severely injure him, like, and to the point where he's disabled Madara, then have Black Zetsu do this, and that's when Guy's power runs out. He can't defend the people, the rest of the people who are still alive, because he's out of power and he's dying on the ground at this point.
Yeah, and Neji is still alive at this point.
But just this could have been there is a way of getting Kaguya in there and making her the big bad. But when Madara was built as the big bad, the entire series up until this point, we've mentioned Kaguya once at this point.
I don't even remember.
It was maybe like 3 episodes of her, and that was it. Where it was her background, if that had even been out yet, I don't remember.
Yeah, not to mention one of the techniques that actually had an effect on her was the sexy reverse harem jutsu. That can work for a comedic villain or very early on, but not like the big bad of the series that we're supposed to be taking more seriously than Madara.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine if, okay, that's Naruto's idea, and she uses something and manages to disperse the jutsu, and you can have the reaction from Sakura and all that, like what they expected to happen, but so again, it's an episode that messes up the timing and makes issues with the rest of the series, in my opinion.
Yeah, you know, I feel like you've brought up the arc, the war arc a couple of different times on channel, which I'm fine with. I'm noticing just how much it's affecting you. Like, you really don't like the ending of this arc, or most of this arc in general. But once again, I can't blame you. They messed up.
There is a ton of potential in this war arc. The issue is that half the time they either don't take the opportunity to do something amazing or do something completely in the wrong direction, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I completely agree. I completely sign on. Okay, so anyways, honorable mentions time?
Yep.
Okay, I have 2 honorable mentions. You told me you have 2.
Yep.
Let's get started. My honorable mention: Shall We Duel? An Invitation to Pair Duel, and Judai vs. Asuka, a set card full of hidden feelings. Yu-Gi-Oh! GX episode 161 and 162. This is season 4, which we haven't talked about all that much on this channel. So Judah, I'm sorry, I'm so used to the English version. I'm just going to call them Jaden and Alexis. It's so much easier.
Mhm.
So Jaden, after the end of the Ubel arc, he spoiler alert 5, 4, 3, 2. He and Ubel have basically reunited, and she's basically his, I don't know, inner voice or something like that. She's a part of him right now. And because Jaden had screwed up a lot in season 3 and it cost a lot of his friends their lives, he basically says, I don't feel like dueling that much anymore. And he's very depressed for most of the season, which on the one hand, I do like because he's feeling guilty. But on the other hand, I don't know. For me personally, it's just not that. I don't feel like it's handled all that well. And this arc is part of it. So basically, there's a tag duel. Well, the best of the freshman class, they team up with each other. The best of the sophomore class and the best of the senior class. There's, you know what I mean.
Yeah, there's only 3.
Yeah. And the final, and basically throughout the whole series, the 2 episodes, Jade and Alexis are a team, or Judai and Asuka. I'm sorry, I'm just going to stick with the English names, like I said. But the whole time they're dueling, they're kind of out of sync because Jaden's not really dueling for fun anymore. He's dueling just to win at this point. Not like Zayn when he was going through his whole thing earlier, but it's different. And Alexis isn't really enjoying it. But they keep winning, kind of making everybody else look like garbage, in my opinion, because everybody else is in sync, but they're not in sync, yet they're the ones who are winning. Meanwhile, the finals are them versus Blair and Hasselberry. I'm not really sure I get it either, but I do like Blair and Hasselberry as a team. They have some pretty funny moments with each other, but the problem for me is like Blair. We know Blair. She has a crush on Jane, and she wanted to be his partner, and we've talked about this a tiny bit before, but the kind of the relationship between Alexis and Jane. It's hinted that she has a crush on him, despite the fact it's not that well. I feel like they didn't. Am I wrong that they didn't really address it that much?
No, because they never mentioned it. Like, never even had her do anything that was like, oh, she has a crush on him. It was she respects him as a duelist and likes dueling with him or dueling against him. That
Yeah,
was kind of the relationship.
Yeah, it wasn't really all that well built up, and the whole time she's getting frustrated, like, "What, Jane? We have to work together. We have to work together." And she's perfectly right. They have to work together. All of a sudden, I spoke a little bit earlier about how Blair had like this mystic dragon type of deck with eggs and stuff like that. Her deck is completely different now. It's full of token cards. Like, it can summon this token and that token, and it's not as interesting as ad before, or because it's just not as interesting to me. And
That's
all
like
of
a villain of the week from like season 1 or 2.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. All of a sudden, Blair activates a card called, I don't even remember the specific name. I think it's like Tag Swap or something like that. And it's like I play this card. If the opposing team agrees, we can switch tag partners. I'm like, what? 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 Look, we've made jokes before about specific cards before, but that's a whole new level of asinine that I did not expect. Heck, so Jaden and Blair are now a team, and Hasselberry and Alexis are now a team. And Alexis notices, he's having more fun dueling with Blair because he's slowly starting to lighten up. And all of a sudden, Alexis is like, no, I want to team with Jade again, so I'm going to destroy that trap card. And now the partners switch back. I'm like, this is so confusing. This is so confusing. And not to mention, I felt bad for Hasselberry because seemingly nobody wanted to tag with him. Jaden wanted to be on his own, and Alexis and Blair wanted to be with Jaden. Hasselberry's just like, all right, I'll just be here.
Now, this episode sounds like it would be so much better if after all of that, Jaden pulls out a card, plays the exact same card, and says, I want to be with Hasselberry.
Yes, thank you. That would have been perfect. Not to mention, at the end of the episode, Jaden and Alexis win because, like I said, well, they just need to win everything, I guess. And at the end of the episode, apparently Alexis wanted to confess to Jaden, but she decided not to. I'm like, oh yeah, like this relationship just feels so weird to me because they almost never acknowledged it. Like, Yugi and Taya makes sense to me. Mai and Joey makes sense, despite the fact she's like 10 or so years older than him. Like, there's so many other relationships in Yu-Gi-Oh! That make more sense to me, but Alexis and Jaden makes absolutely no sense to me.
Yeah, they just they never build it up as romantic feelings, especially in the first two seasons, in my opinion.
Heck, I get more. I have a few. If you could have told me, hey, Jaden and the guy who plays tennis, you could have told me they'd make a they're gonna be a couple, and I'd be like, makes more sense to me. But it's an honorable mention just because there are some pretty hilarious moments, and just the utter insanity of I have a card that lets me switch tag partners. It's stupid, but it has
Imagine
its
having
moments.
them a duel, like if Yugi and Kaiba had one of them had that card in their duel with the what is it? Not Paradox Brothers, the masked guys.
Loomis and Umbra.
Yeah, and they just play it and like, okay, now one will die and the other will die.
It's just, and Kaiba could be like, so you're willing to let me die? I'm like, you were gonna kill yourself earlier in Duelist Kingdom. At this point, you should kind of be used to it.
All right, but yeah, I can agree to that.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's not the best.
Yeah. Once again, though, a token deck. Moving on.
Oh, so my first honorable mention is Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, so the original series, season 4, episode 15. I'm sure you can guess which episode, and this is why it's an honorable mention. We've talked about it before.
Okay.
Atem plays the Seal of Orichalcos.
Yep. Yep.
Again, the character that's been built up throughout this, and again, I know that this was an entire season that was just filler. It wasn't even like none of this was in the manga, none of this was in the story that was actually supposed to be told. It was just, we want to have an extra season. Here you go.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into too much detail because we've gone over this in at least 2 other videos, I think. So again, he plays the Seal of Orichalcos, and this leads to him losing the duel, and then Yugi sacrifices himself. That is in character, and that works. But I think it would have been better had Yugi done that to save the Pharaoh if the other guy had played the card.
Yeah, that would have made far more sense. Plus, Raphael's whole rationale for like, hey, Pharaoh, there's a very good chance you could have been evil in your past life. That, to me, that is interesting. Like, maybe this guy we knew in love isn't always the best person. But to me, it's not even, oh, I have proof of what you did, or there are stories of what you did. It's just, no, you're evil because evil. And I'm like, that doesn't work.
Yeah, so again, we both have talked about this episode, I think, a lot more in detail in our worst Yu-Gi-Oh! Duels. So.
Yeah. And the anime arcs to fix thing. Although, to be fair, the one thing that would have saved this is if Raphael had said, because I saw what you did in season 0. That would have made more sense because the Pharaoh was a jerk in season 0. That would have made far more of a compelling argument.
All right. So your next honorable mention?
Okay, this is another heads up I have to say. I'm going to say this is Pokemon Diamond and Pearl Galactic Battles, episode 44. Sticking with who you know. Careful, I'm about to say some stuff about Diamond and Pearl that's not praising it, because I know so many people are crazy when you say bad stuff about Diamond and Pearl. But this episode, Pikachu and Piplup are basically fighting throughout it. Like there are a couple of attacks that get sent Piplup's way. Piplup gets super pissed about it, and Pikachu's kind of trying to calm it down along those lines. All of a sudden, they get hearts in their eyes, and they just start nuzzling or cuddling with each other. It's super weird. And the whole plot is revealed that this scientist working in a lab, and it's making it so electric Pokemon and water Pokemon are basically inseparable from each other. It's a real... And the weird... You wanna know the crazy thing? This episode sounds ludicrous. This episode sounds insane. It's boring.
I mean, it must be, because I've seen all of Diamond and Pearl, and I don't remember this episode at all.
That's the crazy part. You think that an episode this insane, this ludicrously weird, you'd think it'd be like at least a so bad it's good type of thing, or at least just so bad that you want to laugh. This is just boring. Like, the episode feels slow, and it feels like they're taking it super seriously. Like, when in my opinion, it's goofy. Why are you taking this so seriously? And I don't know. There are a couple more filler episodes from Diamond and Pearl, and even some not filler episodes from Diamond and Pearl I could have included, but this is just it's a boring episode. To me, I'll take a bad episode or a boring episode 99% of the time. Every now and then I'll take a boring episode, but this is not it.
I can agree. I mean, if I don't have any memory of it, it must be super boring. Like not
Yeah.
even bad to the point where I can like the episode because it's so bad. So I'll have to co-sign.
Yeah, anyways, your honorable mention?
All right, my final honorable mention. Again, we've talked about this one before. It's Pokemon X, Y, and Z, episode 38. It's the end of Ash versus Alon in the finals. That's the whole reason.
I don't know if I can co-sign onto this, if I'm being honest.
The fight is amazing and it's animated very well because this is kind of where they were getting the bigger budget at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So that the fight is amazing. It's the ending. We've talked about it before. This is the point where Ash should have won the tournament. And then they could have transitioned into something else in Alola and then Galar. Again, we've talked about a whole bunch of different things that could have happened. It's mainly just the ending is the reason I put this on my list again.
I can understand it being frustrating, but I don't think it's enough for me to be considered a bad episode because it's still a really good episode. Like I said, one of my favorite things about Pokemon is during the league battles when Team Rocket is actively cheering for Ash.
Yeah,
and
this is mainly, as I said, just the ending ruins this episode for me.
I can understand that to some extent. So we're on to the final one.
Yep.
Oh dear. Okay, I know for a fact you have never seen this anime, and I don't want you to, honestly.
Okay.
Oreimo, Season 2, Episode 13.
I know about the anime.
God damn it.
I haven't seen it, but I know what this anime is.
Do I even want to say the title for this episode? Do I want to? Do I have to? Do I have to? Fine. Excuse me. Little sisters can't fall in love with their older brothers. I'm sorry. This is a horrific episode. This is terrible. It's not number one. That School Days episode I talked before, that's number one. But this is just bad. So, I've never talked about this anime on the channel before, so I guess I have to start from square one. There's a boy named Kyosuke. He's bland, uninteresting, kind of a slacker, and he has a sister named Kirino, who's like the most popular girl in her school, good grades, good athletics, everything. But she is terrible to him. We talked before about the tsundere trope, but this seems especially bad because they're brother and sister, so it feels that much more cold and horrible that they would go through this. But anyways, so during the episode, during the whole series, they're basically trying to become better acquainted with each other. And all of a sudden, it seems like they're having a semi-normal, I'm not going to get into full details about it, but a semi-normal brother-sister relationship. All of a sudden, because apparently it's been revealed throughout the series that they used to be very close when they were younger, when they were like 5, 6, around that time period. I don't know the specific age, but that they've been very close with each other, and that that like a normal brother and sister when they're younger, getting along and that sort of thing. But apparently an accident happened that caused them to drift apart and hate each other. So, and Kyosuke has this friend named Manami. She's not the most interesting character in the show, but she's fine. She's like a nice, polite girl, a little on the bland side, but whatever. And they've known her since they were around that age. So in this whole episode, it's a flashback episode, which that itself should tell you how much I don't like it, but there's more to it than that. So when they're little kids, Kyosuke and Manami are hanging out, and it's heavily implied throughout the series that Kyosuke and Manami have a thing for each other, despite the fact that Kyosuke would go on to date somebody far better, in my opinion. But here's the problem. This is what, as their kids, Kirino is running after Kyosuke saying, hey, please, I want to hang out with my brother. And I'm like, you live with him. You get to hang out with him every single day. Why is this one specific time where you're not able to, whatever. And all of a sudden, like when she gets to Monami's house when they're once again very young, she's like, hey, can I please give me my brother back? And Monami, the nice sweet girl who we all knew, she smiles politely and she says, no, little sisters aren't supposed to fall in love with their older brothers. And suddenly that flips everything, because that was the writer's attempts to make Monami the villain of this series. It did not work. If anything, we doubled down because Kirino was this heartless person who we all hated from the beginning, and they basically tried to do what we call in wrestling a double turn, but it didn't work. If anything, it made me hate Kirino far more than ever. And Monami was just like, you're fine. You're not my favorite character of the series, but it didn't work. And I'd like to say this is where the series ended, but it's not, and it got so much worse. It got so much worse. Todd Habercorn, I know your pain right now. This might be one of the worst anime I've seen in my entire life. I sat through the whole goddamn thing. You talk.
I mean, I've never watched this, but I know what happens in it. I know the anime. I've seen it's always on everybody's list of either worst animes or most disgusting animes. So, yeah, I can agree to this.
Yeah. The whole, if they had built, no, I've talked too much. This show has broken me. You talk, please. Move on. What's your?
Okay. So mine's not nearly like that. It's just an episode I hated as a kid and I just don't like anymore. I still don't like now.
Fine.
It's Yu-Gi-Oh! The original series, season 1, episode 25. Mei versus Taya.
Oh,
Mai versus Tai. Sorry.
Yeah, I've talked about that. We've talked about this one before too.
Only a little bit, so that's why it's on my list.
Yeah, fine, sure.
Again, so this follows an episode we actually talked about earlier that isn't bad. It was just mentioned where Kaibo pretty much threatened to let himself get killed if Yuki doesn't let him win.
I would have done it. I would have said, just attack. I don't care. I don't care what happens to you, rich boy.
So he gets all of Yugi's star chips, or however many he needed to actually go into the castle. He goes into the castle, and Yugi is now upset because he can't save his grandfather. Joey offers his because he's like, we can figure out something else for Serenity. She can survive while blind. Your grandfather's going to die, pretty much. And Yugi pretty much is non-responsive. He doesn't do anything at this point. He's mopey the entire episode. It's just not a good look for him. I know that he's lost a lot in this, and he's lost his faith in the Pharaoh because of the attack that he didn't want to do that the Pharaoh insisted on doing.
I was about to say I'm kind of on the, once again, I'm on the Pharaoh's side. He should have done it.
And then so we have Mai show up, and she's like, well, I have extra star chips. I'll just give them to you. I owe you for them earlier. And again, he's non-responsive. It's like, how do you go completely non-responsive? You didn't actually do anything.
Yeah.
You're being offered a chance because you lost unfairly in the last duel with because of your conscience. You're being offered the chance to go into the castle and get a chance to actually compete, and I'm assuming that they'll keep it fair in the actual castle. But he ignores it, and we end up with Taya agreeing to duel. It's like, out of everybody there, Taya. Really?
Yeah, like we talked about before, Taya's deck was not very good in the beginning. It got massively overpowered in the next couple seasons, which I'm not entirely sure how the hell she did it. But the very first season, it was just...
It's not good. And, I mean, at least Mai's deck is actually, I don't want to say competitive, but for the time competitive. It had a theme.
At the time competitive, but nowadays everybody would just laugh at it.
Yeah, it had all the Harpy ladies, and but it had combinations with Harpy's Pet Dragon, Mirror Wall, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, and she cheated with that card too.
Because you don't pay life points in that season.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's just a whole bunch of stuff that it's like Mai should have won, walked down to Yugi and forced him to take the starships and just dragged him into there.
Yeah, on the other hand, though, I do understand why they were upset with Maya, because she was like it. I guess in the sense of this is, remember the episode of Pokemon X, Y, and Z when Ash lost to Woolrick? Was that his name? The ice
The
gym
final
leader?
gym. Yeah.
Yeah, and he kind of went into a depression over it. And a lot of people compared that episode to when Ash lost to Bee in Pokemon Journeys, and how while in Journeys Go was very supportive of Ash, he wasn't like snapping at him or anything. He was just kind of telling him, "Hey, you can't let this get you down. No, you're a great trainer. You're gonna get through this," and all this other sorts of stuff. Compared to Serena, who kind of, even when Ash kind of snapped at her, she snapped back and kind of made the situation worse. So, in a sense, I do understand why they were upset at Mai for it, but at the same time, though, I'm kind of with you in the sense of Yugi. You can still fix this. You can still find a way to. The only reason you lost is because Kaiba pulled something out of his ass. Yes, like you would have won either way. But so yeah, I do kind of agree. It was an odd turn in that little arc.
So I mean, this could be so much better. Completely get rid of the duel. You can have good character with so Mai gives him the star chips, Yugi throws them away, storms off, they gather it, and have I guess we can have Taya be the one to bring him to him and have one of her friendship speeches in the woods outside the castle somewhere about you didn't lose, Kaiba only won, kind of something. Now go prove it to everybody. And she hands him the star chips. Then there's no you could have had character in an entire episode without dueling at this point.
Yeah.
I know it's a kid's show, but
yeah, not to mention the whole thing. You could have had somebody say something along the lines of, "Look, we're gonna lose every now and then, but as long as we're still alive, you don't even have to say alive." They could have even made a tease this, like, as long as we're not in like a shallow realm type thing or anything, I think we'll be good to go. And then the shallow realm shows up in the next season, and yeah, I can go sign on to that.
And again, imagine, okay, so if you wanted to, we could have had Atem, again, at this point, just Yami Yugi, try to talk with Yugi, and Yugi shut him out completely or something. And there'd be a disagreement there that may have reached into that first duel with him and Mai in the finals, which they kind of have, but don't. It's kind of a weird situation.
Yeah, that also. Yeah, that duel was also weird. But yeah, I can go sign. That's an episode I don't really like all that much either. And that was one of the first episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh! I ever saw, so it wasn't a great start.
I watched like some really weird like first season where they edited two different versions of the first episode. So I've seen, and that was kind of where I started. So it was really weird.
Yeah. But ladies, gentlemen, and others, what are your least favorite episodes in anime? Do you have any counter arguments to the episodes we talked about, or just stuff in these episodes you didn't talk about? And please, do not, some of these episodes just shouldn't be watched. Some of these series shouldn't be watched, but we can't control what you do with your lives. I mean, if you subscribe to us, you should be used to quality that's rather disappointing, but hey.
Remember, no quality is best quality.
That's right, and of course we're going to be talking about the best episodes in anime, which is going to be more, like I said, more fun to talk about, but not as much fun to listen to because you guys like to see us suffer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I didn't necessarily want to talk about this on air, but were we going to talk about the news for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, or whatever they're called, in Legends Arceus?
Yeah, I think we'll look into maybe next weekend going over what we learn on, what is it, next Wednesday?
Yeah, next Wednesday. Like this episode's probably going to be up by the time the news is already out. But we still want to talk about it. It'll take a couple days, but heck, I might post that episode a couple of days earlier than usual, because you guys know the Wednesday time slot is us. But who knows? Maybe we'll post a little something. I'll post a little something else, but we can always talk about that.
Yeah, I think we'll discuss it on our next episode. We'll go over what we learn and what we're excited for, what we're kind of nervous about.
Yeah.
See how we.
Also, we have merchandise. Teespring. I'll throw a link in the description. Please buy some stuff if you like it.
I still haven't seen it.
God, I've said it once, but anyways, we will catch you guys next time. So once again, thank you to gentlemen, others, and like the 3% of the women on our channel who are actually following us. I don't really... Thank you. Thanks for the support, but we still don't get why. Anyways, this has been Alex.
And Richard.
And you've been listening to the Anime Egotists. Good night, and peace easy.